So welcome everybody. This is day 5 of PRCA Read at Cannes and we've made it.
It's been such an amazing week, like so many amazing conversations, amazing insights, and sometimes the best conversations were the ones off the stage.
Agreed. But the theme for me that's been running throughout the week has been this interaction between AI and human and the human side. And there's different ways to come at this. I mean, there's the point of who is creating the content for AI and whether they're really inclusive and whether that is translating into, a broad spectrum of humanity, which sometimes we think it hasn't. And then there's also your actual interaction with AI on a one-to-one level and within organizations and how that might work.
What I found really interesting about the conversation around AI was the fact that AI and data are making communication smarter, making the work more groundbreaking. However, it's also heightened like just really key comms principles that people just want to be seen, heard, listened to, and belong. So as we see more data infiltrating our everyday lives and infiltrating things we touch, like marketing and comms and our daily just interactions, people are wanting and expecting brands actually to bring them together. So we are seeing the work becoming more inclusive, more looking at who's left behind, whose voice is not heard, and it's quite poignant that we co-hosted a panel at the start of Cannes called "Who Gets Heard," looking at visibility and representation, and championing the fact that we need more representation in our industry, and that's been woven throughout Cannes. To be honest, we're seeing the biggest cultural moments to be collaborative, to be deeply rooted in listening first and responding. And then thirdly, one of the most interesting insights that I've come across is the fact that as people yearn more humanness in comms, in their experiences, we are seeing that how brands do experiences is completely transformational. They're using data to look at like the climaxes of how people feel and looking at that people feel before they think before they do. So therefore, experiences need to speak to that. You have to kind of put together experiences that give people meaning. And one key takeaway that I found from the conversation on experiences was that anticipation could be even more important than the experience itself. And one campaign looked at particular looking at spikes of human emotion in that, getting together the group chat, the kind of group shared camaraderie around an event or activation had higher peaks in data than the event itself. So one of the kind of key things I've heard spoken again and again throughout conversations is culture and the importance of tapping into culture. However, the fact that culture is not a channel, it's rooted in listening, it's rooted in not extracting, but actually listening to authentic ways to participate in culture, listening to the people in that culture, participating in with them in a co-creating landscape. So yeah, just to summarize, I've loved seeing how AI and data is making income smarter. I've loved that as we heighten the use of technology, we're being more rooted in more humanness, more values, which is amazing. And lastly, that the future of comms is going to be deeply rooted in experiences that are feeling, that are human, that are all about experiences.
Yeah, to that point, I'd say I attended a really interesting conversation this morning, and that was all about the human side, the human interaction with AI, as you say, more about human experiences and how we interact with AI. And as a backdrop, they use the Lennon and McCartney relationship. And it's really, they were saying, can we mirror that? Can we translate that between AI and humans, that kind of Lennon and McCartney partnership? And they made some great points that, first of all, they said that partnership worked so well because they valued each other as partners. But clearly, that can't happen in a prompt. You can't get the AI to prompt to value you. When they did their writing and they did their publishing, they did it as shared ownership. It was shared authorship. So something to be aware of, what you're producing through AI, who does it belong to? I know that question's out there already, but it's just something for you to bear in mind. They gave each other confidence, which you can get from AI, but you can't be too reliant on it. And the question they asked is AI a true collaborator? How do we close that gap between ourselves and AI? And the answer was, if for AI to be a true collaborator, it would have to be able to push back. And we know AI can be quite sycophantic, so maybe not, certainly not in a constructive way. They said, you should use AI to be relentlessly curious and look to the question as much as you can, not just focus on the outcome. And a couple of other great points they made. when you get the opportunity, your starting point should be from you. You should be the origin, especially when it comes to writing and creative writing, because all we're doing is when we ask the algorithm and AI to create something for us in terms of writing, we are not protecting our cognitive sovereignty. And that means all we're doing is feeding the algo, which is not a great place to be. And then the final point they made, which I thought was really interesting about diversity. Clearly, we understand what's going on, but there's a lot said about what's going on in the background of AI and algorithms and diversity and lack thereof. They said what should be fed into the usual diversity, but what should also be fed into for a really great creative partnership, maybe between ourselves and AI and humans, is that temperament, the diversity of temperament. That somebody will be, you'd have a completely different view to yours, but it doesn't mean it has to break down a relationship. And we need to return to those sorts of, like Lennon and McCartney. They didn't agree of a lot of things, but they produced, genius work because they allowed each other to be different. They acknowledged that there was a difference there, but they wanted to get to something great. And what was lovely the way it ended up is that even though the Beatles, all of, not just Lennon and McCartney, even though the Beatles, when they had found fame and fortune and money and they were worldwide famous, etc., they still used to meet up and go, and there was technology to back this. They didn't have to do this, but they still used to meet up, go into the studio and just jam because they wanted to be in each other's company, because that was the foundation of creativity for them. And I think we need to bear that in mind with AI, that it's great, use it, but I think we still need to come together.
That's beautiful. It's been such a joy to be here and to come together to partner with PRCA, with Reeve, and any takeaways, any ending notes?
I would say that it's something that we've done this time for the first time. And I think it's the first time PRCA has done this sort of level, certainly hosted a panel. And we absolutely intend to do it again. So, if you're watching this and it's something you want to get involved in with us and something you want to partner with us for the next time, absolutely reach out to us, because we know this is not just one and done. We absolutely are going to do this again.
And the future's in collaboration.
Yeah. Thank you all.